On today's show, our 80s reboots in a little bit of trouble. Then we are going to talk about Martin Scorsese's comments regarding Marvel and Joker. It had a huge opening night at the box office. We're getting into that as well. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Movie Talk. I'm your host, Perry Nemroff, and soon I'm going to be joined by Jeff Snyder and Matt Donato. But first, it's call sheet time. First item on the list today, of course, is Joker's Thursday night preview numbers. They were big. The movie made $13.3 million, and of course, that tops the $10 million that Venom made last year. On top of that, the $13.3 million haul also makes Joker the largest Thursday night preview since Lion King hit theaters back in July. More on the box office and also some interesting quotes from Joaquin Phoenix later in today's show. Next up here, it's the Martin Scorsese comments. He had a little something to say about superhero films. Here's what he told Empire magazine when the MCU came up. "I don't see them. I tried, but that's not cinema. Honestly, the closest I can think of them, as well made as they are, with actors doing the best they can under the circumstances, is theme parks. It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being." Moving on now to a little something from The Hollywood Reporter. They are saying that studios may lose the rights to a whole bunch of popular 80s franchises, and those titles include Terminator, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Beetlejuice, Die Hard, Predator, Nightmare on Elm Street. We're going to explain why this is happening later in the show. Now, we've got a must-watch trailer for you over on Collider.com. It's the trailer for a brand new Netflix horror movie. It's called Eli. Here's what it's about. A young boy named Eli who's plagued with an unknown debilitating illness that requires him to live completely sealed off from the outside world. His parents eventually put their trust in the hands of a doctor whose experimental treatments at her clean house facility may hold Eli's last hope. As Eli undergoes the process that could cure him, he begins to be haunted by experiences that make him question who he can trust and what's lurking inside the house. After the show, go on over to Collider.com, give that trailer a watch. Now, oh boy, a Jeff Snyder exclusive here. I am so excited about this one because it's about Escape Room 2. Isabel Fuhrman, who you might know from Orphan, The Hunger Games, and also Showtime's Masters of Sex, is set to join the cast of Escape Room 2, which is also bringing back original stars Taylor Russell and Logan Miller. Escape Room 2 was originally slated to open in April, but now Sony will release the sequel on August 14th, 2020, and I cannot wait. All right, before we move on to our discussions for the day, I don't know how to tee up this video package right now. I'm going to let it speak for itself. Check out this trailer.
Hello there.
That video is crazy. It was a ton of fun to shoot. So if you want to see the full thing, go check it out after the show on the Collider Video YouTube channel. And that's where you can also find out how to win a really cool Heroes and Villains backpack that I might want myself, but I can't take it and one of you will. So go find out how to win. All right, it is time. Are you guys ready for these panelists right now? Are you ready? Because it's Friday with Matt Donato and Jeff Snyder. Who's drinking the healthier morning drink right now? That's what I want to know.
You don't know what's in here, so that's the fair point.
Actually, I don't know what's in. Post Fantastic Fest, I know what's in there.
It's water. Yeah.
This is fake orange juice.
All right.
Also, I don't know how much you have all this energy this early in the morning. Like, I am not used to this.
It's all in this
I'd be
cup.
waking up for work at this point. Like,
Same. Maybe.
Well, I feel like post Fantastic Fest, you can make this excuse to be like a little tired, but
It's
I don't know.
been writing and catching up too, so it's not even post Fantastic Fest for me. Like, I have been in a hole for the last week.
Just because we had Alicia and Haley on the show earlier this week and they both answered this question for me, just tell me briefly, what was your favorite movie of the entire festival?
Tammy and the T-Rex. which is the gore cut of a PG-13 movie that they found and is now R-rated, and it's about Denise Richards falling in love with an animatronic Tyrannosaurus Rex with the brain of Paul Walker.
Wow, that's such a Matt Donato movie. I can't handle it. And our first story today is a very Jeff Snyder story, I would say.
Good segue, Perry. Boom.
It is bright and early, and I've had a lot of coffee. All right, so this first story that we're going to talk about here is are the 80s reboots in trouble? And it's because of some rights issues that the best person on this panel to describe the situation is sitting right next to me, Jeff Snyder. Can you break it down for everyone?
Basically, I think it was Congress. They passed laws, right? They passed this law, this copyright law in the 70s that gave authors the rights to terminate these agreements so that they can get their rights to their books and movies and scripts and that kind of stuff back. And so you're starting to see creators do that. It started last year with Victor Miller, right, who is the Friday the 13th guy. He wrote the original screenplay. Sean S. Cunningham was suing him. Victor Miller won. Sean S. Cunningham is still appealing the case, I understand, and that's why we really haven't seen anything with Friday the 13th, but now you're starting to see it from like the Terminator screenwriter Gail Ann Hurd, who co-wrote the script with James Cameron, the author of the book that Die Hard was based on, the author of the book that Roger Rabbit was based on, the Beetlejuice screenwriter. So it's like, our studio's going to have to renegotiate all these deals with all these rights holders. I think that they will end up having to. I don't think that you have to worry that, you're never going to see these reboots or sequels or anything because these rights are really worthless. If a screenwriter just has them in their back pocket, like you want to sell them to someone who can actually finance a movie, unless one of these writers is actually in a position to pay for something like that out of pocket. So I think you're going to see the Terminator franchise continue, but could it move from Skydance to Netflix? Yeah, possibly.
So if you had to make a prediction right now with the wave of these coming in, do you think that studios will maybe give up more money to keep the rights to these? Because we all well know we're in a phase right now where studios are prioritizing reboots.
I just think that if if the rights holder, whoever came up with the original material, if they're happy with how things have gone, then they'll say, all right, let's renew this, and you guys have been the caretaker of this franchise and keep at it. Some people may be upset, and they're like, God, I got to get it out of your hands. You've ruined this for the last 30 years. I'm going to try to find someone who's more on the same creative page as me.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Dark Fate now. So if Dark Fate does really well, then Paramount, I guess, would be inclined to negotiate in order to keep these rights.
Skydance actually, it was David Ellison who got the rights because Megan Ellison had them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, people are unpredictable, though. And I think the issue is you look at the Jason Voorhees stuff and the Victor Miller and the Cunningham things, and it's been going on for more than a year. I mean, It's been going on for a while. We haven't had a Friday the 13th movie since the reboot in 2009, or reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it. And it goes beyond the films, too. I understand what you're saying about, the rights don't do anything if they're just sitting there. Right. And I agree, and that's the issue. But, I played the Friday the 13th video game all the time when it came out, and all of a sudden that got dragged into the lawsuit, and now that game is dead, basically. They're not allowed to do any new content, and they're not allowed to do stuff like that. Right. So the issue there for me is I'm not worried. I agree with you. These things are going to be produced other places, these titles and stuff like that. But also people, again, are unpredictable, and you can get caught in these legal negotiations that go on for years and years. And Jason Voorhees is a huge character, iconic, horror. You want him in everything. You want to license that stuff. But yet it's been sitting there despite the fact that you have all this potential just because of greed and just because of people want, ego, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. And that's just the human side of the business, for better or worse, in this town. The issue with Friday the 13th is that Cunningham was arguing that was a work for hire. That's like, I hired you, Victor Miller, to write me this movie, Friday the 13th. It's not the same as Roderick Thorpe, who wrote the book that Die Hard was based on, who, just wrote that book. And then they said, all right, we're going to option this book or acquire the rights, and now we're going to turn it into a Die Hard movie.
So what do you think is going to happen in the future now? Because this is the first opportunity that writers have to utilize this 35-year law and actually put it into effect. So is the next wave of this going to be 90s movies? Because we all also well know that 90s reboots are super hot right now. So is this just a story we're going to have to continue covering every year now?
I mean, time moves on. That's the whole thing. Time moves on and everything is going to get dragged into this eventually. So yes, 100%. But also it comes down to the fact of, do they want to fight this? Do they want to take the legal action? And, like you said before, if there's profitable movies being made about these titles, maybe you just sit back, renegotiate, and be like, all right, you keep going here. But it's going to be title to title, because if you look at what's in the can right now for the possible legality, Nightmare on Elm Street, Predator, Die Hard, things of this nature, Beetlejuice. I mean, there's a lot of licensing potential there that people don't want to lose. So I don't think it's going to be the same as Friday the 13th, as you already said.
And so the other element of it, and I'm 35, even though none of you believe me. I'm 35, born in 1984, and so we're talking about 1984 movies like the Nightmare on Elm Street and whatnot. But okay, so like with Pet Sematary earlier this year, that was one that came up, and because the original King book was more than 35 years ago, Paramount was basically given a termination notice, and you have 2 years after the termination notice to do something with these rights, and so they hustled a movie into production while they still could. For better or worse.
I go with the better on that side.
Yeah, I'm with Perry on that one.
I do want to backtrack just briefly, because I'm curious if any of you guys know anything about the current status of that Friday the 13th movie with LeBron James attached. Is that basically just completely stuck in position?
It's stuck until
there's
that legal...
absolutely no moving forward until this issue
Until the red tape gets taken away, there is nothing going on there. And the funny part is, really quick, Ilphonic, that made the Friday the 13th video game, they're now developing a Predator video game, and so help me God, if that gets caught in production too, I will be furious.
I'm pretty sure you name dropped Predator in your piece.
He did. Predator is one of the titles that's up for the renegotiation. So help me God, if I don't get this Predator game where you can play as the Predator hunting soldiers or vice versa, I am going to be furious.
That does sound good. But it's also like, we haven't seen anything on Die Hard. Like, what is going on with Die Hard?
It died hard. I mean, the franchise did die hard.
It's just... That's why, I think you got to clear Bruce Willis out of there. But this is an opportunity for maybe to have it move out of Disney Fox.
Oh, well,
right?
That wasn't the route I was going to take, but I was going to ask you guys if maybe the silver lining of a legality like this is maybe to kind of forcibly encourage studios to develop more original franchises rather than continue to redip in pre-existing ones.
No, that's
wishful thinking.
Yeah, Hollywood does not learn the right lesson.
The optimism is so good right now on you, Perry. But
none of this stuff is disappearing. It's still there. It's just going to cost maybe more money and
go to different studios and different
studios.
Well, this year in particular, I feel like isn't a good year to back that kind of mentality, because how many franchises have we seen come out and then crash and burn and not come anywhere close to making the profit?
The exhaustion will hit eventually, I do think, but I just don't think we're there yet.
All right, we're going to follow this one as it develops, and we're also going to move on to a very hot topic here. It is Martin Scorsese's comments regarding the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'll just start this off to say, I have a feeling the way this was brought up is just casually, maybe the MCU was brought up, but I think this is a more broad criticism of, big budget studio spectacles, specifically big comic book adaptations. So you guys read this quote from Scorsese, and what does it make you think?
Do you want me to take this one first? I'll go first. I mean, it's Scorsese. I give him all the credit in the world. And I mean, there is a little bit of validity to what he says, and he's just not saying it the right way. But in the same regard, I don't agree. I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been developing over and over time and making, I don't want to say better movies, but they're looking at the whole production value of things. And I mean, Black Panther, you look at the score, and it's like they're caring about these technical aspects. You look at Wonder Woman going to the DCU, has beautiful cinematography. And to say that something isn't cinema makes it sound like a paycheck movie. And we've seen paycheck movies. We know what those can turn out to be. And that's not these superhero movies. So I do want to, I defend these comic book films that are coming out and paying attention to all the aspects of filmmaking. And also Scorsese says something about not connecting with characters, and actors aren't being given things to work with on a deep level. And I completely disagree, because I bawled like a baby at the end of Endgame, not even being a huge MCU fan. And I know, like, you can, make your faces and stuff like that, and that's fine. But I had not known it through every MCU movie that I was so attached to these characters. And seeing it all come around in Endgame, I was like, wow, okay, they've literally programmed me and hooked me into these characters that actually make me care about something.
Yeah, I share that feeling. I think I agree with Scorsese's comments insofar that I would describe them as theme parks, as rides. I have in many of my reviews, but I mean that as a compliment, as a good thing. And I typically apply that kind of descriptor to a movie when, something truly has me on the edge of my seat, takes my breath away. I just described Ford v Ferrari like that too. So I actually think that's a compliment here, and I would describe Marvel movies as theme parks in a sense. But when it comes to that last line about it isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being, that I'm like
Has he only watched Thor: The Dark World?
That.
Like
yeah.
what?
Well, also, I think about one of my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, and it's Guardians of the Galaxy, and the transformation that the characters go through in that. Like, yes, it is an out of this world kind of experience, something that we can't relate to in every single respect, but it's about a group of misfits who need to find a family and I think everybody can relate to that on a very human grounded level in a certain respect.
I mean, that one shot of basically Drax and Rocket, and Drax kind of puts his hand on Rocket's head, and it's like that hits me so hard. And yes, it's an alien and a raccoon that shoots weapons having an intimate moment, but again, I can connect with that because that's the storytelling they've developed.
All right, Jeff.
Go ahead, Jeff. Now take us down.
I see that smirk.
First of all, I didn't mean to poop on your Endgame reaction because I've cried at the end of comic book movies. It's totally legitimate. I don't know that I was bawling at like a baby. This wasn't Manchester by the Sea here, but I get it. You were connected to Robert Downey Jr. and these characters for 22 movies. I've come down somewhere in the middle. I think what Scorsese is trying to say here is that these movies, some of them at least, some of them are art, and some of them are just corporate product. Some of them are paycheck movies, I do think. Scorsese, though, I think that his views are honestly more complicated than they're coming across in this interview. I know his name isn't on the Joker, but his literal producing partner, Emma Tillinger-Koskoff, is. So it's like, do you think that he goes into the office and Emma's been working on this movie for the last 2 years and he's like, yeah, that's not cinema, Emma. Like, I don't think that he views it like that. Again, this is like his right-hand person. So it's almost as, like, I was actually surprised at the end of the credits when Scorsese's name wasn't there because I thought he was going to take an EP credit. I guess he was just too busy with Irishman. But, basically, Emma runs his company. His company basically made it. So I think that this kind of reduces the argument, and it is a little elitist, even coming from me. But
you're so self-aware. I like that about you.
I'm very, very aware of what the audience thinks of me. But yeah, I mean, he's also earned the right to talk. Like some of these aren't cinema, some of them are. Some of them really do advance the art form, and even something like Aquaman, which I thought was horrible. That's like a whole movie set underwater, and you have to give it credit for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I look at this too, and considering the fact that you're on the table today, Jeff, I think a lot about Collider FYC and how a comment like this might, make waves throughout the Academy. Many others might hold this idea in mind.
Nobody cares, I don't think. And nobody cares. Because, they're talking to their peers at these cocktail parties and receptions. If they really were like, Marty, do you really think that? Like, then they'd have a chance to converse and elaborate on it.
Not even necessarily, though, that his specific comments could change somebody else's mind. But is this further proof that mentality still exists and could maybe shut the door a little more so than we once thought to Avengers Endgame at the Academy Awards this year?
Absolutely, yes.
All right.
And also, this is an internet headline. Let's remember.
Yes.
I mean, this is an interview put out there to get clicks and to get attention, and you lose a lot of nuance in that. Where I'm sure there was a much larger conversation he had that might have given more information and background and things of that nature.
I long for that conversation.
Yeah,
I really wish I could hear him just elaborate on this and the state of cinema. I mean, especially because he's making this comment after giving Netflix a 3.5-hour movie with some de-aging technology, a significant amount of makeup effects. So
the man knows movies.
I mean, we don't know what he tried. He said, I don't see them. I tried, Well, what did he try seeing? Where did he start? Did he start with did he hear Iron Man was great, so he went to go see Iron Man 2 and then 3 and was like, forget this? I don't know.
There's a lot of nuance missing.
Yeah, I don't think he went to see Black Panther and he was like, I tried to watch it, but I walked out.
I don't think he hates Marvel movies specifically. I don't think he's calling them out specifically, but he did make that comment, and now we have to take it for what it is.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
We're worth discussing, not worth, like etching in stone or anything, but hopefully one day someone follows up on these comments just because I'm curious. I would like to know more about him.
He could always change his mind. People are allowed to
People change their minds all the time.
Opinions evolve.
You could change your mind on a movie you see today and then change your mind on it in a week from now.
It happens a lot of festivals, honest to God.
And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. All right, before we move on over to our third topic of the day, I got to remind remind you that we're taking your live chat questions at the end of the show. So get creative, have some fun. It's Friday, and start sending them in right now. And we've got some stuff to tease on the Collider Video YouTube channel. Here's some promos for you.
Hey everyone, John Roca here, the host of Collider Mailbag. A new episode drops every Saturday and Sunday in your face and in your ears, answering the questions from you fans about the world of entertainment, film, and television. Me and great guests from our sphere do the best to answer your questions from Twitter, from Instagram, and of course, email as well, every Saturday and Sunday.
What's up, Collider fans? Ryan Satin here from ProWrestlingSheet.com, where you can find the top stories throughout the week in the world of professional wrestling. If you're a wrestling fan like myself, then you'd be doing yourself a disservice by not checking out all the shows we do every week on YouTube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. In particular, on Wednesdays, we've got a SmackDown recap show hosted by John Roca and myself, where we pick apart and talk about every little thing that happened on the Blue brand. So do yourself a favor and go subscribe at youtube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet.
We got a little something else to tell you about right now. We're actually doing a ranking video, and we're ranking the top live-action Star Wars movies leading up to the release of Star Wars 9. These two over here. But the thing is, we're not ranking them ourselves here at Collider. We're giving you that duty. So go on over to Collider.com after the show, and that's where you can rank your favorite Star Wars films. Then we're going to compile that list, and we're going to make a video series where the Collider team reacts to your choices. So submit your rankings right after the show today. All right. Are you ready for panel number 3? You guys know I have to read these quotes, and the quotes are very long. Otherwise, no one's going to understand the entirety of this story.
Can you wake me up when you're done?
I just wanted to say I was mad at first about not being asked to contribute to this ranking, and then when you said Star Wars, I was like, okay, never mind.
I had a feeling that would be your thought with that. So we're going to talk right now about the box office for Joker, and also some comments that Joaquin Phoenix made that are just interesting about the process of finding the character and how they actually made it happen. I am going to read all those quotes, but before I get to those, let's talk a little bit about this Thursday night number. So does this basically solidify in your mind that Joker is bound to smash Venom's record and maybe go well beyond it for October?
I think it's a safe bet. I think it's a pretty safe bet because we're talking about a Batman movie and we're talking about a comic book movie, and we can say that Todd Phillips made something that's more art house than maybe usual comic book films or whatever you want to call it that some people are saying. But it's still going right back to that being a Joker movie. And yeah, it's going to do very okay.
How high are you going with this, Jeff?
I mean, I think the last time I was on, I think I said 89 in honor of the original Batman movie. You did. And I think I'll stick to that prediction. It doesn't seem like it's going to hit 100 maybe. But whatever the prediction is, 80 right now, I will take the over.
I actually went for the ceiling. I said 105. I don't know. I think the conversation, whether you love this movie or you don't like this movie, is at such an intense level that it is creating an insane amount of curiosity, and it's going to make this a high priority to see weekend one. So I just think it's.
I'm not calling you crazy.
Right,
you could totally be right.
There's a chance that I could be right. I also think that 89 is a very respectable number right now too.
Let me ask you this though, because of the media has whipped up this frenzy and something could happen this weekend in theaters, according to the media, do you think that people will stay away opening weekend and wait for things to die down?
That's not how I read it. I mean, I am definitely one of those people that walked out of the movie and was, I'm going to express concern because I felt it walking away from it. It's not to say that I didn't like the movie. I gave it a positive review, but I walked out scared and uncomfortable, and maybe that's what the intentions were. And then just hearing some of the discourse, hearing that some threats were made, yeah, of course it makes me nervous because I care about the safety of my friends, my family, and everybody in this country for that matter. So it is on my mind, but where I think that reports like that will lead is to more curiosity.
The morbid curiosity.
People wanting to know why this sparked that big of a reaction. And I actually think it's only going to bring its box office number even higher.
Because the security is all there. Everyone's reacting appropriately in the theaters. You see at the press screenings too. There is security out the wazoo. So there is the right level of attention being paid to those threats, and also those first reviews coming out all the festivals, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, calling it masterpiece and stuff like that. I think there's too much hype going into it that people cannot ignore.
I just think that the media loves to sort of stoke fear around these kinds of movies.
You just described the media.
But like when we see security, like I went to the most secure screening in the world, the premiere, and I'm sure there's a ton of security at the press screenings because you got the press there, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of security in LA and New York. The problem is there's security at theaters like Aurora, Colorado, and I don't know that there will be, but I'm not saying that I think that something is going to happen, because I think that some of these reports kind of are overblown.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature of a headline culture, because, just even thinking of my own tweet, I mean, that is simply how I felt walking out of the movie. That did not translate to, oh, someone's going to do something because of this movie, but it's very easy to take certain wording and fashion it into that kind of headline. And I do think we saw a lot of it, but, if we're in a situation where being safe versus sorry is better off, I'm kind of glad that those headlines exist.
You always have to play it safe.
Extra,
of course.
extra
That's why we do go through what we go through at airports.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the second section of our Joker story right now. All right, guys, I'm just going to jump in. I'm going to read these huge quotes because they're very interesting. It's going to Matt, sit back. All right, here we go. So these are the comments that Joaquin Phoenix shared with the fine folks at the Real Blind podcast, who I am a very big fan of. All right. The freedom that we had from Warner Brothers to kind of shoot it and discover it was really key, more so than you might imagine, because there were some really radical changes to the character several weeks into shooting. We just started going down a particular road with Arthur, with approaching the character and his behavior, and it was based on a reference that I had found. This kid that is undergoing psychiatric evaluation, and it was really interesting in a particular way of behaving, which I thought was applicable, and it might have been at times. Then what happened is the 6th week of shooting was the first time that I played Joker. I was really angry about that because I thought that it should wait until the end, and I didn't want to kind of shoot it in the middle, but for several reasons we had to. We shot those sequences, I think, for 4 days, and we finished, and on the last day, the week we shot the bathroom scene with Thomas Wayne, that was a weird transition and it was a struggle. And after that, after playing Joker, I just suddenly realized Todd and I got together and we talked about everything we shot, and I just said, I think that we've been missing something, and I feel like we're going down a road that seems wrong in both the look, the hair is wrong, the way I'm wearing the wardrobe is wrong, and a lot of the behavior. So we kind of, in that moment and over the weekend, kind of reconceived the character and kind of realized the mistakes we had made. So you guys hear that this was the process that it required to bring Joker to screen the way that we saw him in the final cut of the movie. Does it surprise you? Is this kind of process with changing the character mid-shoot unusual?
So the question is, at the end of that, when it says we had to reconceive the character, did that mean they went back and reshot everything, or did they move forward with what they had? That's my curious part.
Based on the way he expresses it in this, my understanding is that in order to capture what he thought was the best interpretation of the Joker for this story, that they would have had to have redone some of the material. He doesn't specifically say, oh, we went back and reshot all this.
Right. Because that's my part, is, we're all writers up here too. We're doing the video content, but, we write film reviews, we write features and op-eds. And when I write something, sometimes the thesis I end with is not the thesis I started with. So I get that. I get 3/4 the way through an article and all of a sudden realize, wait, I have a way better message and a way better way to deliver that, but I can rewrite an entire article. This is words. You cannot edit together and edit around a person playing 2 different characters.
Well, I don't really even know what the huge drastic difference might have been. Like, it might be a situation where only certain beats needed to be tweaked, although he does reference, the way he was wearing the costume and the look and everything.
He references the entire character.
Yeah, it could have been significant for all I know. What do you make of it, Jeff?
It's a gobbledygook quote. I don't know what it means. There's no way that they went back and reshot 6 weeks worth of material, especially to keep the budget down the way that they did. So that just didn't happen. The quote that we didn't read was, it was a really crazy time because I became so grateful and thankful we shot the Joker scenes, which there's a limited number, I would say, right? He's mostly Arthur. Became so grateful and thankful we shot the Joker scenes when we did, because exploring that side of the character really allowed me to see this other side. So maybe, I don't know whether he shot the Joker stuff at the beginning or if he shot it at the end, and shooting it at the end, like shooting the Arthur stuff informed how he actually played the Joker thing. Like, I don't know if he had a different take on it before shooting other scenes. Like I don't know what to make of it. It's hard to understand. Just like I am right now.
It's hard to understand in that we don't specifically know how it affected the production of the movie and potential reshoots. But the one thing that I do really take from something like this is further respect for Joaquin Phoenix and how much he values his craft and what he pours into a character. This isn't a guy that's just getting up there ever to read lines. He wants to fully engross himself in a character. And if he is in a situation where, let's say, playing Arthur at the beginning, shooting the Joker material in the middle, and by playing Joker in the middle, he felt that he needs to go back and reconstruct the character with a new core concept in mind. I don't know. I just got a lot of respect for that. And if Warner Brothers did go along with that and let them change those beats, I applaud Warner Brothers for it because it served the movie better overall.
But I thought comic book movies aren't real movies.
This is
tying it all back around.
Movie, and so are all other comic book movies, because no matter what type of movie is out there, it's got at least one fan, and I like respecting
No, and I
that.
agree with you, and that's the thing. Like you just said, the care that Joaquin Phoenix is putting into this character, it just gives you that much more of a, comic book movies are quote unquote real. Like, just to go back to the Scorsese quote, it's way more than just the paycheck. He is in Arthur, and he's in Arthur's head, and he's always developing. And like, he could have coasted through it, sure, but the fact that he gets that deep into a role and goes, nah, we gotta retool this. Like, that is just care to craft.
I mean, his performance feels of a piece with itself. It doesn't feel like schizophrenic like his character. It's not like I see a huge difference between one half versus the other in the movie. So again, that's why I don't understand the quote, because I'm telling you, there's no way that they went back and reconceived a character and Warner Brothers reshot it, and we were just finding out about it now.
Just take it as a tidbit of interesting information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on what you just said, I kind of want to see Martin Scorsese direct a superhero movie now.
I hope we get there.
By the way, he
totally for Netflix.
Just for the sake of taking on the challenge, and I don't know, seeing what he discovers about himself as a filmmaker through it.
The playlist headline is Martin Scorsese removes himself from Kevin Feige's Rolodex by saying Marvel films are theme parks and not cinema.
That's BS.
Let me tell you
that
something.
Is such BS.
Kevin Feige would hire Martin Scorsese in 2 seconds. He does not care what
if he
what
said that out loud, I want to direct an MCU movie like that. He would have his pick of the litter.
Before you could even hear the sound.
I would really love if all of this led to just that. Led to him directing.
Because of our conversation. If Martin Scorsese watched this.
Yeah, really. I have just convinced Martin Scorsese that should be his next challenge.
He'd want to. I don't think he'd do like I think he'd want to do an original superhero. I could see him doing a superhero movie, but not one of these Marvel or DC characters.
One of the off-color ones.
That's probably the more realistic route.
Right,
but based on my challenge concept, I want him to have to direct like the quintessential Marvel movie and just see what Martin Scorsese's magic comes out of it that he doesn't know he's capable of.
I thought about this the entire drive over, and I've always wanted to see not a movie about a superhero, not a movie about a supervillain, but about the supervillain's henchman. And it just opens with all my life, I always wanted to be a henchman.
I'm
glad you spent that much time to think of that
behind that idea. I think that's a really interesting approach to something like this that we have. I mean, have we ever seen anything like that before?
I know someone with a great henchman script, by the way.
All right. Well, I'm behind that script, even though I haven't read it. We'll see if that ever happens. All right. Live chat questions. Let's see what we got in the queue. How about... Let's find one about the Netflix situation, which I was eager to talk about. I thought there was one here. All right, I can't find it anymore, so I'm just going to ask you guys, what's up with Disney not having Netflix ads?
Smart business choices. I mean, this is the start of the wars that have seen coming. I mean, this is Disney saying, no, Netflix, we're not going to promote your material on our channels because we're going to start promoting our own materials. And we want people to dump Netflix for our service. I mean, this is what the last time we talked about when I was here and we were talking about all the Netflix and streaming wars. This is already happening. We're already now there. We're already to the point where it's going to start affecting our daily lives. And yeah, we're seeing it full force.
But it's not going to affect my daily life because I'm a cord cutter. Nobody is watching TV. Nobody is watching these ads that nobody wants to buy anymore. Listen, it makes sense that ABC/Disney would stop running Netflix ads. I don't even know how many ads they were running before. It sound actually like a significant amount. They're still going to run them on ESPN because Netflix doesn't have live sports, so they don't compete there. But it sounds like just a messy universe where this network will only accept ads from these people, and we're not, these people are banned, and this is why. I don't. It's just.
Well, and as Disney buys more and more and starts snatching up more and more companies, it becomes even messier because then we get into monopoly territory. I mean,
I was about to describe it as even neater because it just boxes everything into the
That's
Disney
not neat,
world.
Perry. That's bad.
It's
That's
not,
a bad
it's
thing.
bad. Neat in my life is usually a good thing, but not in that case.
Yeah, no, not there.
Just to give you guys a little context, the headline right now on the Wall Street Journal for the story is Disney bans Netflix ads as streaming's marketing wars intensify. And then the little subtitle here was entertainment giants are set to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to promote new streaming services. It's weird to think that we are right around the corner from the launch of Disney Plus is basically a month away. And I think everything is going to change when it arrives. All right, let's jump down to J. Scott for real. What non-blockbuster film would make for the best theme park ride or roller coaster? Are you guys? You're a roller coaster fan, Matt.
Yeah, we've gone on them together.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God, Six Flags.
Yeah,
I still have photos from that. Those are delightful.
On your desk. I was very touched by that.
Yeah. So what is it? What would you choose?
Oh my God.
Predator.
Wow. What are we talking about?
Non-franchise movie that could make a good roller coaster. Gremlins. Sorry, I'm just naming all your answers.
I was just going to get to Gremlins, so I hate you for taking that because yes, Gremlins would be my number one. I want to go through a little roller coaster where the Gremlins are ripping up the coaster and stuff like that, and they're the electricity and things.
I almost feel like Gremlins would be better as the haunted house where you used to just sit in the car and go around the track, that kind of thing.
That's fair.
Run Lola Run.
Oh yeah,
the roller coaster.
Okay.
Just this blaring German techno, and it's the world's fastest roller coaster, and you have to wear a red wig when you ride it.
That would be an interesting one.
Red wig when you ride it. That's a lot of R's and W's.
And then everybody who rides the roller coaster gets lice. I don't know why that was the first thing that came to mind.
Really? That's the turn I didn't see coming there.
Don't you ever think about that when you buy a new hat or something?
When you buy a new hat?
How many people put that hat
No.
on? All right, I'm not going to go down that.
I've been with you buying hats too, and it's taken forever, so I understand this now.
Because
This
no
makes
hat
sense.
ever fits me.
Yeah, it was 20 minutes in New Orleans just standing there can we go drink? No, I had to get the right hat.
I don't even know what the style of hat is called, but whichever hat has less fabric over here so it doesn't push my ears out. I want more of those hats. Someone
tuck mine in.
Tell me what it's called. I would pick Blade Runner. Because I was just thinking, I think you just described certain visual aspects with Run Lola Run, and it makes me think about the Aerosmith roller coaster and how much I love that ride at Disney World.
Right, yeah.
And I kind of just want something like that with a visual style that pops, and I feel like
went
Blade
on
Runner would
The
serve it very
Hardcore
well.
Henry roller coaster.
The one. Yeah, no, that's a good choice.
I know. Took me a minute. I got there.
Hardcore Henry does not get enough love.
Hardcore Henry is the best video game movie that's not based on a
And
video
where
game.
is Ilya with another movie?
He's doing Nobody. That's going to be a big movie next year, I'm telling you.
Wait. What is this called?
The Bob Odenkirk action thriller.
I feel like I vaguely remember this now.
I'm telling you.
But
he's going to be good.
Dude.
Yeah, he's okay.
Anything he
Odenkirk's
makes,
training right now.
I'm signing up for. Really? What is it? What is it about? Can you update us?
It's just
on it at all?
an average guy who ends up having to go vigilante.
An average guy who is Bob Odenkirk.
Right.
Which makes it way
shot
better.
in a similar style
I think-
to Hardcore Henry?
I don't know about that, but I think it's going to
Not
be very
first person.
kinetic.
Yeah, it's going to be kinetic. But you watch his music video work, and this is what he does. He just does high energy action. So
It's like Atomic Blonde with Bob Odenkirk.
I'm okay with
that's what
I
I'm
love how you
picturing.
didn't go with John Wick with Bob Odenkirk. You went with Atomic Blonde.
You know what, Donato? It's early in the morning.
You confuse me, man.
All right.
Do you want some vodka?
Let's take this one from
I knew it was
Sang,
vodka.
given the conversation that we had a little earlier. What comic property would you want Scorsese to make if he were to make one? So pick one, one comic book storyline, character, villain, anything you want. Pick yourself a henchman if you'd like.
I actually think Scorsese's take on the Penguin would be really good. Scorsese's a New York filmmaker. The Penguin's this kind of Gotham, this huge figure. He's a political figure. Yeah, I think it would be awesome.
So given what you said before, do you think there is ever a possibility that he would do that, especially with this somewhat being affiliated with the Joker?
No.
Okay.
Martin Scorsese has better things to do with his time. There's, a zillion people who can direct these movies, which is clearly how Marvel feels about it as well. So
I'd want
you
to see
got?
something like Steve Rogers-y, like early era, where he's still in the military and he's still with his entire, like he's with the army basically. He's not fully Captain America, and you let Scorsese play around with his backstory, and you let him play around with all these other side characters. I don't want to see him take like a singular character and stay with him. I want to get the entire world, and I think he'd play well in like a World War era kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, what you just bring up automatically makes me try to think of a character, you know, like a 70s character.
Right.
Like
Yeah, that's exactly where I
into
went.
The mob movie mentality.
Well, and in all honesty, like I will admit, I wasn't the biggest fan of the origin for Captain America that we got. So I would love to just see Scorsese take his take on that type of exact movie. I'd be totally happy with that.
All right, I'm going to give you guys a big one. I'm sorry. Here, let's do it. CS Edits is asking, which are your top 3 directors working today? They don't have to be like all time. Like I'm even just curious, you know, when you read an article about a director signing on to a project right now, who do you have your fingers crossed that it will be?
I have the weirdest 3.
I like weird.
I'm thinking about directors that I've only rated positively so far, like in my critical career, and that would be Joseph Kahn, who has directed Bodied, Detention, and Torque. Shut up! I have fun with his movies. I don't think he's like the greatest, but
love
so I guess
Bodied.
Yeah,
I'm
I know
going.
you
I'm
love
going
Bodied.
in a different route here. I'm not going with greatest, but I'm going with directors that just connect with me, I guess. But Joseph Kahn, Benson and Moorhead, everything I've
Yes.
seen by them are just it's next level. I connect with their existential kind of filmmaking on every type of platitude.
Thumbs up for Synchronic.
Oh, Synchronic's so good. Their most marketable film, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a really good way where
Yeah.
they've distilled their dread into something that you can put out to the mass public. And my third would probably, I'm trying to think of like a more basic kind of pick on that. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look really quickly. Go.
I will go with Fincher, Tarantino, and then a twist, Wes Anderson.
Okay.
Interesting.
I like how you went with, you know, like classic individuals with like real long bodies of work that all speak very highly of them. I think right now I'm gonna say I'm definitely gonna put Taika Waititi on the list because going with your mentality, he's someone who he delivers time and time again. And I think when you look at the types of movies he's made, he's got endless range. I'm also going to say, this is I'm very conflicted by the parameter you just put on your list, where I'm trying to think of someone who hasn't had a miss.
Because trust me, I know there's technically way better filmmakers than Joseph Kahn, and I'm aware of that. But like, for some reason, I just connect with his work over and over again.
Yeah, for a while the top of my list used to be Jeremy Saulnier, who I still really like, and I think Hold the Dark is okay, but Hold the Dark was like
Hold the Dark did that for
it
me.
was a dip
Yeah,
for me.
it took me
So
down a
he has
step.
since been I don't know, put in my honorable mentions.
But I mean, to
maybe?
be fair, like again, I'll watch anything Tarantino does, and that's another good point where it's like, yeah, how am I going to turn off a Tarantino film?
Flanagan. Attach Flanagan's name to anything, and I'll have more faith in it.
Flanagan now. Early Flanagan for me didn't work as well. I'll be
Like
honest.
Oculus?
Pre-Oculus and Oculus
Okay.
era. Once he hit Hill House, then I knew he could do the emotional range as well, and that's when I was like, great, get this guy on everything.
I got real high hopes for Dr. Sleep.
Oh, 100%.
Please.
I'm all in on
please.
it. Yep.
Please make this year go. What would it be? Pet Cemetery. I know not everyone agrees on that one. It Chapter 2, also one not everyone agrees about. In the Tall Grass. Oh, In the Tall Grass. If you want a
Today.
review of
That's
that,
today.
it's on the Collider Video YouTube channel right now. Check it out. And then Dr. Sleep. If all of those turn out to be good movies,
Hell
I'll
of
be
a
very happy.
year for King. Ying for King.
Plus the stands.
It's early. Why is it so early?
Stands getting off the
Yeah,
ground.
yeah.
the stand's
Have you started reading his new one?
No.
The Institute?
Not
It's
yet.
very good. I'm like halfway through. I like it quite a bit. All right. There's no way to end a Friday movie talk other than a bread question. Jeff, have you answered a bread question? You have answered
I don't
one.
know if I have.
Oh, no. All right. Wait. I might have to do 2 bread questions then. All right.
I do like bread.
Yeah, carbs are good, man.
Here's
pizza.
one appropriate for this particular weekend. Dart Love 5 is asking, what type of bread would the Joker character be?
B.
I feel like this isn't meant in
I've
a
got it.
negative way, but I feel like the Joker is moldy bread just because of how he's kind of, like
green
turning dark on the inside throughout the movie, like darker and darker. So
I like
that's
like
the
a
mold
plump
spreading.
loaf of sourdough because he's already sour in the middle and it's got like the circular shape of the penguin. I don't know. How am I supposed to answer this question? Like, what kind of bread is he?
There's
Cinnamon
no
raisin.
wrong answer.
Cinnamon raisin?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
All right,
explain
cinnamon
yourself.
raisin.
Wait, hold on. Don't let him off that easy.
All right.
I think of the raisins as like a purple-colored fruit. I think of the Joker as a purple-colored character. I don't know.
Cop out.
Yeah.
A random thought from Dorian. I like the bread movie title. Oh, he likes the bread movie title. This is a lot of fun. The bread movie title game. And he just dropped in Bready Player One. So wait, that's going to be my next question. Put bread in a movie title. Dorian's Halloween Twitter nickname, I think, is A Nightmare on Bread Street.
I was going to say, it should be Night of the Living Bread. I already dropped in on this. Yeah.
Oh, did you? You were on Twitter, weren't you?
No.
Okay.
Wheat men can't jump.
Nice. Yep, that works. Yeah.
That's clever because people keep putting the word bread in it, but you went for wheat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I have to bread it up?
You could, I mean, yeah.
The quick
Breading it up is very important.
The quick and the bread.
Bready's dead.
Yeah,
That's
there you
a
go.
good one. A bready one is good. I like that. What kind of bread are you, Jeff? What did you say? Did we answer that question?
You never asked me what kind of bread I was.
All right. Well, I'm an everything bagel.
You are.
What are
everything
you?
Bagel.
I mean, I should say challah bread, but I'm going to say the pretzel bread from Cut Steakhouse, which is the best bread ever.
It's a respectable choice right there.
I feel
You're
like
not
I'm
getting off.
I was gonna say I guess I'm like a ciabatta roll.
No, you're pizza crust.
I love how you just looked at me like, no, you are pizza crust.
I don't know.
This is a thing, and that's a good point.
I think it's because I've seen you eat so much middle of the night pizza that it's like I just immediately associate.
blowing me up on freaking Collider Live Talk.
Some people are hanging out late at night. Some people aren't.
Literally,
Well, next year
just
you should come with us to the Overlook Film Festival, and you'll get some middle of the night
listen.
pizza.
Just because I get my hunger late at night after a few drinks doesn't mean everyone has to know about my.
That's when I get my hunger as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're out of here. I hope you have a bread-filled weekend and a Joker-filled weekend, if that's how you choose to spend it. Maybe in the tall grass also. Whatever you want. Guys, thank you so much for spending your Friday morning with me. Hope you guys have a good one. Huge thanks to Adam in the booth, as always. Dorian in the live chat as well. That is it for Movie Talk this week, but we're going to be back Monday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific with a brand new episode. And guess what you have to look forward to this weekend on the Collider Video YouTube channel? It's Mailbag. Enjoy it. We'll see you Monday.
Snyder Cut coming later.